Tuesday is World Down Syndrome Day, and it's on Tuesday because it's March 21st, 3/21. And the reason they picked that day is because Down syndrome is a result of having 3 copies of your 21st chromosome. It can be a complete copy or it can be a partial copy. It can be hereditary, like it could have been passed down from a parent, usually a mom, or it could be just like super random mutation. In our case, it was a random mutation. And Arya actually has 3 complete copies. It doesn't run in our family. I don't seem to produce eggs with an extra copy. It's just a random thing with her. So I kind of just wanted to go and talk about her story and how we found out we were going to have a daughter with Down syndrome, and kind of just like how it affected us. So on Ezra's first birthday, March of 2012, I found out I was pregnant. Ezra had just gotten out of a 3-week stay in the hospital, which is a whole other story. He'd only been home for a few weeks. So on his first birthday, I took a test and it was positive. We had sworn up and down when he got out of the hospital that we would never return to the children's hospital because we ended up having such a bad experience there. Going through my pregnancy, everything's fine, and I had the blood test at 13 weeks and at 20 weeks, and then they can kind of compare your blood results of that. So at 6, we went and we found out what we were having early. So at 16 weeks, I found out I was having a girl. And then, so we had her name picked out. I was looking through bedding, like just, we were already like getting ready for Arya Athena. And then at 20 weeks, I got a phone call from my doctor, from my midwife, saying that for my age group, I should have had like a 1 in like 6,000 chance of having Down syndrome, and my chances in my blood work came out 1 in 100. So I had to go in for more testing to see if Arya indeed had Down syndrome. So when I found out, I was actually at my friend's swimming. I just like broke down in the bathroom. I freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the last thing I ever expected. We went in for the blood work. They did an intense 3D ultrasound. Her heart was fine, her kidneys looked fine, her toes looked fine because they can have a bigger space between her toes. They checked the back of the neck for the extra fold. It looked fine. She was perfect physically. I just had this feeling that I couldn't go off of just this ultrasound. So we ended up doing amniocentesis. Is that what it's called? It was supposed to be like a 3-minute, 5-minute like quick procedure, and mine ended up being like 15 minutes. There's 2 sacs, and one of the sacs hadn't fused to the other sac, and they couldn't get it in. They kept removing the needle, putting it back in, removing the needle, putting it back in. Super painful. Thought I was gonna pass out. Thought Sock was gonna pass out. They got their fluid, we left. They said, we'll call you in a week. I remember looking at the 3D ultrasound thinking, she looks like she has Down syndrome. And I didn't say anything because I already had this bad feeling, like this sinking feeling, like, no, something's wrong. And I regret not saying anything because I feel like maybe it would have prepared us a little bit more. But I remember looking at the 3D ultrasound, and specifically her eyes. Her eyes just told me, like, that looks like she has Down syndrome. And kids with Down syndrome have like puffy little pockets right here of like extra fat and skin. I don't know, it gives them the certain eye look, and I thought Arya looked like she had that. Her eyes looked very Down syndrome-ish, if you will. So week went by. I remember I was in Ezra's room. I was rocking him in his rocker, putting him to sleep for his afternoon nap, and they called me. and I was stupid and I answered, and I should have waited till Sock was home. And they told me she had Down syndrome and that I had an appointment the following week. Needless to say, I broke down. Like, I broke down. I didn't know what that meant. I felt like I had a daughter stolen from me. I just like freaked out. I called Sock. I think he was on his way home, and I was like, she has Down syndrome. She has it. She's gonna be born with Down syndrome. And it's like I couldn't connect to him at the time. And it was weird. And we went to the follow-up appointment, and you know, they gave us the option to terminate the pregnancy only because she has Down syndrome. There was nothing else wrong with her. She only had Down syndrome. And we were both just like, no, she's our daughter. Her name is Aryas. We have bedding picked out. Like, no. So it took us a few months to really wrap our heads around it, and it took me a few months to feel like, instead of having my daughter stolen, I kind of had to be in the perspective of, she's been my daughter the whole time. This is how she was made. This is how we made her. This is who she's been the entire time of my pregnancy. It's me getting used to the idea of who she is. And so once I got that through my head, that like, nobody stole my daughter, this is who she's been the entire time, it finally like, okay, we're fine, we're gonna be fine. We researched everything, we looked up everything, we were preparing ourselves for the worst. Like, okay, she's not gonna walk till she's 3, because that's usually when most kids with Down syndrome walk. She's not gonna crawl on time, she's not gonna roll over on time, she's not gonna do anything on time, and we need to be like prepared and okay with that. So my original due date was December 1st. They put it back to December 6th based on growth scans. On December 6th, my doctor was going over paperwork again, and she was just like, you know, based off growth scans, like, kids with Down syndrome are smaller anyway, so I think your original due date was December 1st. And they just pushed it back because of this, but she was most likely, like, your due date was correct. And now she's very overdue, and now we need to think about inducing. So we waited a few days, and on a Sunday, December 9th, she called me, and she's not working during those hours. She's like, you know, I have this bad feeling. Let's induce you tomorrow. The sooner we get her out, the safer she'll be. Kids with Down syndrome just don't do good being overdue. She's like, let's just get you in tomorrow. So I was like, okay. And we've always been very like, they come when they come, and you just have to be patient, and they come when they're ready to come. So then we were like, okay, I guess we're getting up for an induction. Monday morning, I went into labor anyway. So we walked in for an induction, but I had already been in labor. 3 hours later, after I walked in, I gave birth to Aryas. I always thought it was going to be scary. Like, I don't know. Like, is she going to feel like mine? She's not going to look like me. Like, I already had it, but she's not going to look like me. She's going to look like she has Down syndrome. And then I saw her, and I didn't feel any different than I did with Ezra. I loved her. She was my daughter. The only thing that did shock me, though, was my blonde baby was born with orange hair. Like, orange hair. Like, she did not look Mexican at all. And she still doesn't. But she was born with orange hair, and I think that was the most shocking thing for all of us in the room. But, you know, we've been really, really lucky. Besides, like, a NICU stay for like 4 days because of low blood sugar and just not breathing well on her own for a little bit, she's done very, very well. She rolled over on time, she walked on time, she crawled on time. She's incredibly smart. The only thing she's really behind on is verbal skills. She's not speaking like a 4-year-old should be speaking, but she is amazing. I cannot imagine our lives without her. I can't imagine terminating her pregnancy simply because of the fact that she had Down syndrome. When she was been completely healthy otherwise. Does she have a lot of specialists? Yes. Is she a diva and lots of upkeep? Yes. But that upkeep is worth it. She is sunshine when she walks into any room. Everybody loves her. She's so sweet. She has a little nasty side, as I'm sure any kid does. She's been like this thing in our family that we didn't know we needed, and we needed her. And she has totally changed our perspective on life in general, on what a disability is. I had never had contact with a lot of people with Down syndrome, and I feel like when I was pregnant, God was showing us like all these adults with Down syndrome. All of a sudden, like, I went from never seeing people with Down syndrome around my town to seeing people with Down syndrome all the time. And it was always these really great positive experiences to let me know that she was going to be okay and we were going to be okay, and this wasn't going to be a big deal in the long run. Because truthfully, like, if a few of the other chromosomes she has would have tripled, those are fatal. There are trisomies that are fatal. Down syndrome is not fatal. A lot of bad things can happen. She could have been born with a bad heart. She could have been born with bad kidneys. She could have been more mentally disabled, and she's not. She's just like any other kid. It's just amazing, like, the things you think you're not prepared for to deal with become like the thing that helps make you and helps make you grow. And I remember searching on YouTube for like videos about families with Down syndrome, and I couldn't find any except like, you know, cheesy inspirational stories of like, this was your path, but now this is your path and you're gonna be okay. And like, those did nothing for me. And so I feel like having our story out there and having Arya's story out there, especially on World Down Syndrome Day, is just like something positive that I hope other parents will find and will love and will know that like it's gonna be okay. It's scary because it's different and it's something you need to educate yourself on, but it's, in the long run, it's your kid. Arya is my kid. I don't treat her any differently than my other two boys. I don't treat her any differently than I would if she hadn't had Down syndrome. She's my daughter, and when she gets in trouble, she gets in trouble. When she wants some sweets, we sneak her in some sweets. Like, she has a sweet tooth. We let her indulge in it. She loves Play-Doh. She loves drawing. She loves singing and dancing and movies. She's just like a typical kid, except that she can't talk like a typical 4-year-old. That's the only thing sometimes I see. And I think that because I'm so used to her, like, I tend to forget, like, I know she has Down syndrome, but I don't see her as a child with Down syndrome, I think. And I think that's good. Like, you can't see their disability all the time. You have to be aware of it, but you shouldn't see it as a parent. And I think we've done a really good job of doing that. We push her siblings push her, and she has thrived. And we're just so proud of her and so happy that she's in our family. And I hope that on National Down Syndrome Day, she helps to inspire other kids, and she helps to break barriers, and that when she grows up, she continues to do that. I don't see her having a stagnant life. I see her always pushing boundaries and doing what she wants, and whatever that ends up being, we will be behind her 100% and support her and make sure she gets to where she wants to get. And even if that means getting married. I had this picture of my head that she would always stay with us and just live with us forever, and she'd be my best friend forever. But I know, like, the reality is, like, she could find somebody and she could get married. And I remember crying because I remember thinking, she's never gonna get married. She's never gonna, you know, she's just never gonna find somebody to love. And now, being more educated myself, I realized, like, no, she's gonna do whatever she wants to do. And if she finds a boy that she loves, she's gonna take off on me. She's gonna be a typical teenage girl. I just know it. I hope someone sees this video and realizes that it's not the end of the world. We need to get in the reality of this is a child that was given to us. This is a child we made, and we need to accept them. And it's more of us becoming more accepting than anything else. And then once you just like open your mind to that, it's just like so much easier. You just love your kid and you have a great time raising them, and they teach you so much about life and patience and just like loving other people in general. I think I'm gonna cut this off now because I hear the baby crying and it's time to get our daily lives started. So hope you enjoyed this. This was kind of like a different video than what I'm used to making, but I just wanted to make sure that Aryas and our story was out there.